original Yugi deck is so we've got the Skull Archfiend of Chaos, of course, Summon Skull. Like, who can not forget how good Summon Skull just looks in general, but that classic of Summon Skull being one less tribute than Dark Magician and having both of those in the same deck just really takes you back. So that's actually a really exciting deck, and again, like you said, it hits the nostalgia points. It looks amazing. The extended art cards are incredible, and what I love most about the extended art cards is if you have your Magician of Black Chaos on the left-hand side and Black Luster Soldier on the right-hand side, they come together to form what is also going to be the top cut playmat for this weekend, which is absolutely brilliant. So I'll do this already. We're going to send it back over to the table. We're going to get this round 4 back underway. So let's head over there now. Okay, so unfortunately it was a game loss for Antonio there on that one. It looks like we're going to be setting up, and Hayley is going to take a 1-0 lead in this game of round number 4. So just going to see, I believe Antonio does get the choice for going first or second on this one, and it does look like we're going to be seeing some sort of interaction play from Antonio. Starting off with Magical Meltdown.
Speaking of Invoked, I think that one of the best starters is the Magical Meltdown. I believe it was one of those Filspel that really saved how we treat Filspel as a community. It is one of the first very, very strong Filspel that have entered the game. And one of the scenarios that Antonio needs to face right now, though, is when you play on the stream and you receive a game loss, obviously, mentally wise, it is devastating. And you need to find all the capacity in mentally in order to be again in the zone, as we discussed earlier, like we were some miracles, and we understand what is going to happen. That mental wise, it is very important to find all the clear mind in order to be again into the zone, to be again into the tournament, and understand that you have still one game and potentially another one in order to get that match win eventually.
Yeah, exactly that. So we see Antonio utilize one of the new trading card game exclusives in the form of the Magical King of the Swamp. So another way to extend your field. So all you need to do is, as long as it is in the hand, you reveal a fusion monster in your extra deck, and the monster revealed was the Macabre, and then in doing so you get to special summon this card, and it can be treated as the banished monster because you banish one monster whose name is mentioned on it from the deck. So again, gets you access to another Alistair the Invoker name, and this is where we're going to start to see the way of how Alistair can bridge to get different attributes into play to utilize that invocation to get that all-important either Macabre to give you a bit of protection, or we might start seeing some of the new fusion plays here utilized by Antonio.
And Artemis has brought so much power to Invoked from even back in the day on 2019, I believe it was, 2020, that it was very difficult to find access to Macabre, but right now, due to Artemis, that you can turn just your Alistair into Macabre, it's very important. And another new addition to the Invoked strategy, it will be the Invoked Baby Baron. It is one of those cards from Chaos Origin that have been released lately, and states that if this card is special summon, you can add one Viracam, the Divine Spirit of Artifice, or one Gamma Summon from your deck to your hand, then you can banish one monster from your graveyard. So it is not like an interruption, but also it provides some more extension when you are going first.
Yeah, exactly that. And on this one, we did reveal the Vikram. And the Vikram is, again, just another nice extender for the deck as well that allows you to push a little bit more presence on the field. I still feel that the information side of this is definitely in Hayley's favor, because to this point, Antonio doesn't know what their opponent is playing. So again, Hayley is either going to be taking in as much information as possible, making sure they know exactly what type of plays Antonio is trying to make and how he wants to try and navigate them, but also just fairly confident in the power of the Light and Darkness deck as well for being able to go second. And we're about to see exactly what Antonio is going to end their field with, as we're trying to make it as hard as possible for Hayley to win this as a 2-0 and make it go to a game 3.
And information-wise, both side deck, it is very important to know what you are going to face. For example, as you just comment on that, Hayley knew that she's playing against Invoked, so she was ready to bring all those side deck cards that potentially would be very good against the strategy. However, Antonio is going to the blind right now. He has no vision against Hayley's strategy, and potentially he just will go for the straight combo of the deck and activate another invocation. And I think this is the time for Mekaba, right?
Yeah, I feel you kind of want to protect what you have on the field already, but there are just so many different ways to fusion in this particular approach. I suppose the question I kind of have for you then on that side is, when you're going into this game number 2, with that information you have, do you play it as safe as you possibly can? Because you don't really want to adapt your strategy too much. I suppose the easiest trying to change out is if you are on any of the Mulch armies, you take those out for more solidified going first cards. But then if not, you don't really need to mess with the strategy of your deck anyway, because you kind of want to make it as fluid as possible to get the best first turn field you can possibly get and then build on from there.
And right now we see Antonio keep extending and extending and extending, and can you count how many Alistairs have been summoned in this field?
Well,
because I have lost.
One is banished, one is on the field, and then the other one was the Mythical King of the Swamp, which technically acted as Alistair on the field. And then we also have Alistair, the Invoker of Madness. So Alistair has many different forms, and this is before we even consider the Magistus version of Crowley as well, that can also be utilized as Alistair, the Invoker. So there's a lot that this deck has, and I just love kind of how it all works together. There's a lot of synergies, the different attributes you can kind of utilize, just different kind of options for you, and it doesn't really limit you to anything particularly. As you can see, we've got access to link monsters here, we've gone through fusion monsters already as well, and Antonio is still going to be showing off exactly what this deck can do, backed up with the magical meltdown to help protect some of the fusion monster effects. And then we've also got the graveyard that is currently with different attributes of water and I believe light and dark, quite possibly on that one. So eventually we might see a Mekaba come here, but we still have a lot more to play for. And we're going to be utilizing the graveyard now, getting rid of the invoked Seraph, and this is going to utilize Alistair the Invoker as well, because you get to fusion summon another invoked fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing the above cards from your graveyard and monsters from the hand or graveyard as material. So again, just more ways to get into that invoked Mekaba, utilizing that beautiful alternative artwork for it as well.
And I think that Invoked Sorath brought exactly what they needed, right?
Yes.
It is like an extender that also enables you to fusion summon and do not go directly to Mekaba, but find another step so you can end, for example, on SP Little Knight. And one of the things that it needs to be mentioned is that since Antonio went for SP, it means that he has really no space in the extra deck for IP Masquerena, right? And one of those downsides of the deck, it feels like the extra deck is very, very tight.
Yeah. I mean, when you want to be kind of filling it up with the fusion monsters themselves, it does kind of limit you a little bit more. So we might be able to see Hayley's first card used or played here, and we're going to be starting off with Branded in High Spirits, a very good card for the Light and Darkness strategy alongside Branded, of course. But the way that this works out so nicely is being able to reveal a particular monster in the hand and then utilizing a monster specifically from the extra deck can give you more consistent ways to get you into what I could only imagine might be the Fallen in White, and that card itself already has direct synergies to work its way into the Light and Darkness cards by being able to eventually go into the Crimson King, which is a Red Dragon Archfiend style card, and then work their way into either a Crimson Call or, of course, a Soul Resonator. And the overall ideal goal or route of that play is to get access to a Griffo. But we might just see Hayley be playing the Branded version from yesterday, and that would even give them a fusion route as well.
So in any case, even if it's a Light and Darkness deck or a Branded deck, I believe that you need to Mekaba here. And I think that Antonio just wanted to clarify if High Spirits is you can only activate or you can only use this card.
Correct.
Just to know, because if it was an activation, Mekaba had negated the activation, so Hayley would potentially activate another one.
Yeah, and then with the use clause, the use doesn't really care whether it was activation was negated or not. And there's an evenly matched. Wow, okay. So Hayley trying to even the playing field here on this one. Be interesting here wants to play this because we can use our own SP Little Knight here to try and protect two of our monsters. We know that Hayley won't have any battle phase this turn or to produce any type of damage. So those two cards that are banished, which looks like it's going to be the Invoked Macabre and the SP Little Knight, is going to allow us to get direct access to have those monsters in a bit later on or during the next turn as well. And it looks like we got rid of everything else apart from the set card. I quite like that because I feel the fear of the unknown can sometimes be very, very potent in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh!
And Evenly is one of those cards that I think the community was debating during this tournament, either to side it or not. And I think it has quite an interesting, debate upon it, because from the one hand, obviously, it is one of those cards that you really need to keep in mind when you are establishing your field. However, if you have prepared for this card, it is not quite easy, but you generate a lot of advantage by being prepared, and so the battle phase, it is one of those resources that you really need and you cannot afford to just waste in this format.
Yeah, exactly that. And speaking of Mind, we do play Mind Shuffle here from Hayley. So we're going to be able to get access to that through the Griffo. And for those of you unfamiliar as to why we can activate Mind Shuffle the turn it has been set, the Griffo does give you that ability to do so. And what you ideally do is you add a card that mentions Light and Darkness, and that will allow you to ideally add the Skull Archfiend of Chaos by sending and then discard a card, and by doing so, the Skull Archfiend of Chaos will then trigger its own effect to send the Light and Darkness ritual from the deck to the grave, and in turn, then give you the ability to search out what we just saw as that beautiful extended art card of the Black Luster Soldier, which is definitely the more aggressor of the two ritual monsters here, but it looks like Hayley and does have both all ready to go. And the benefit of getting the Black Luster Soldier into rotation now where it's all possible will allow Hayley to deal with that unknown card along Antonio's Spell and Trap Zone.
And I believe it is one of those scenarios that the game state has been quite simpler, because right now Antonio has lost a lot of resources. Obviously, he has the SP Little Knight in the banishment with the Macabre. However, if we manage to find access to our ritual monsters, I think that Antonio might be in a very bad spot.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be ideal here, so we do get to go into the Magician of Black Chaos here, and we're going to be able to utilize the effect to grab the Light and Darkness Ritual back from the hand, and that is not a hard once per turn activation of the Light and Darkness Ritual, so if Hayley does want to perform another Ritual Summon, we can do. We're going to utilize the secondary effect of the Black Chaos to banish that set card face down, and then in this simplified state, as you've already mentioned, having an SP Little Knight plus the Macabre coming back, it might seem like a good thing, but I feel that to have much effect on Hayley's field, you kind of want Antonio to have a trap card in the hand to deal with the Mind Shuffle. And it looks like we're going to be utilizing the Skull Archfiend of Chaos' secondary effect here. So this is actually really kind of cool because it lets you target 3 cards between the 2 graveyards. One of them must mention Light and Darkness, in this scenario being the Griffo, and we've just put those 2 invocations back into Antonio's deck, which is actually a very, very good move here from Hayley, because that then shuts off a little bit of resource management for Antonio as well.
Yeah, it is one of those cards that they are not only providing resources back to you, but also they are utilized for interruption and to clear the graveyard of the opponent. So I believe that those decks have this thing in common, right?
Yeah.
Meaning that Antonio with Invocation and Hayley with the Summon Skull can manipulate the graveyards and get rid of any card that potentially be a threat in either player's graveyard.
Yeah, and that's what I quite like as well, because whether intentionally, which with duelists of this level you probably assume that, but Hayley has also cleared out their entire graveyard. So there is no attributes in there for Antonio to even use, even if he wanted to. And it looks like we're going to get the SP Little Knight back into rotation. We do have the Invoked Macabre in play as well, and we're going to see what more we can push through. The nice benefit of SP Little Knight is that it does target, and that's one of the ways to deal with the Light and Darkness ritual monsters, because they're completely unaffected except by cards that target them. But with Mind Shuffle being as powerful as we've already seen so far this weekend, yesterday more so than not, just by returning a level 7 or higher monster to the from the field to the hand, or their side of the field to the hand, we can get access to another ritual monster, and we know that there is going to be the Black Luster Soldier, and that's exactly what Hayley is going to do here, returning the Black Chaos as cost.
Can I say how much I love that we have seen both extended arts in the same in the same game? It feels so nice to see those cards with an extended art be summoned. Both Black Luster Soldier and the Magician of Black Chaos be summoned in an extended art feels so nostalgic.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love it. I mean, any type of card that features Black Chaos, Magician of Black Chaos or Black Luster Soldier is going to look amazing regardless. But the fact that they're able to kind of stretch through those barriers of the and extend to the artwork of the card is always going to be another added bonus of how good these cards can look these days. But we're still going to be powering through. Remember that this is Antonio's turn, so we're just trying to see if we're going to be utilizing the Black Luster Soldier's effect here in order to target one of Antonio's monsters, or maybe even Magical Meltdown to banish it. And we are going to be targeting the SP Little Knight. Be interesting to see if we're going to chain said SP Little Knight in order to try and remove some resource from Hayley's field.
So we are currently debating about the effect of SP Little Knight. We need to protect here or Mekaba, I believe.
Yeah, I feel no matter really what gets used here, we might be seeing Hayley trying to pull out an interaction from Antonio, because that Mind Shuffle will possibly be attempted to use again if you were to target like the Black Luster Soldier. And it does seem we might do a bit of a shuffle again or a search here with the Mind Shuffle.
Mind Shuffle is one of those cards that have provided such a unique strategy, right?
Yes.
Being placed as because traps sometimes seem a little bit so, but if you place them directly face up, or if you can activate them in the turn that they were set, it feels like trap cards are evolving, and I feel it is very good for the game to have another utility for a mechanic like trap cards.
Yeah, absolutely love it. We still have that one set card as well from Hayley here. And it looks like we are going to shuffle with the mind one more time. And we're going to go for the Celtic Mystic. So utilising the Celtic Mystic's effect here, we're going to try and draw three cards and then discard two, yeah.
Seems like a good effect.
Just a bit.
I think it is one of those cards that are really providing extremely resources management when going first and going second. And I have seen from the play community and the player base to debate whether these cards should be in the side deck or should be in the main deck. Sometimes many people may argue that this card should be in the side deck and only brought up when you go first. However, we see Hayley to utilize it for going second also in order to generate this advantage. And as we can see, it's give so much because I think that Droll was activated to the effect of the Celtic Guardian.
So I think that was the Invoked Macabre to negate it. So we banished the Celtic Mystic, which kind of leaves Hayley with no presence on the field right now. You would assume that there might be another way to either trigger off the Mind Shuffle. We've already seen how good a Fragile Harmonia can be as well, because that is your level 7 or higher monster that enters the field of play and interacts with your opponent. We have made Antonio utilise the Invoked Macabre's effect here, and we're now going to try and utilise Invocation again to present another monster to the field, which will be very, very impressive. After already being hit with an evenly match, it just shows the resilience and versatility of the Invoked deck and the strategy itself.
However, as you mentioned, Hayley has cleared the graveyard, and there are no monster on the graveyard for Antonio to utilize. And another card from the latest set, it is the Invoked Oceanus. So, while this card is in the main monster zone, your opponent cannot target monster for attacks except this one. So we have a protection for Mekaba, and we would just spoke about how important the battle phase it is in the current meta state. While this card is in the actual monster zone, as it is right now, any monster sent to opponent grave is banned instead. So it feels like we have finds and access to Macrocosmos in monster-wise perspective.
Yeah, it's a very, very good facilitating fusion monster here. And like you said, when you're already backing that up with the Invoked Macabre, trying to simplify the game as well. You don't need to overcomplicate duels like this as well. Trying to maintain and restrict your opponent's resources once you've done that back and forth already for a turn, it does allow you to get a bit more of a foothold in the game. And Antonio is definitely fighting back after the evening match from Hayley and kind of seeing how much further we can push on this one, making sure that we hold back a bit of resource in the hand so that our Invoked Macabre could still be activated against Hayley. So returning the Celtic Mystic.
Yeah, it was the skull that was banished by the effect of Spirited Knight. Celtic Mystic, as you mentioned, it was banished through the effect of Macabre to be negated.
Now, I don't think this is the worst position. Well, I mean, it's not ideal because you kind of want your Skull Arching of Chaos to hit the graveyard. And if it doesn't enter the graveyard, you don't really get its additional send effects. So with that kind of blockade of the Oceanus in the extra monster zone and the SP Lutonite, this is turning into quite an interesting push here from Antonio.
Yeah, but I think that right now we can special summon the Black Luster Soldier, activate the effects to banish the Oceanus, or we no, it also provides an effect from battle that you can only target this for battle, because we would access potentially battle phase to deal with the SP Knight. But this is why it's very important to read all those mini effects, like the hidden effects that we would like to call, for example, of Oceanus, that doesn't let you attack another monster.
Yeah, so I think what we want to try and do with that one first, though, is we want to be able to... you're on the right path there, getting access to the Black Luster Soldier, or even the Magician of Black Chaos, or just Black Chaos.
This.
Yeah.
This could all work.
That is definitely one way to do it, because the fact of the matter is, while there is a Light and Darkness ritual in the graveyard, Black Chaos is completely unaffected by your opponent's activated effects. On top of that, it can trigger its own effect and to non-target banish 2 cards the opponent controls. So in this scenario, I can imagine that Black Chaos will try and deal with maybe the Macabre and the... Oh, we're just going to go Battle Phase instead. We're just going to deal with that SP Little Knight outright. I suppose you have to be a little bit careful. If there's an Alistair the Invoker in the hand, we can actually make our Oceanus a little bit stronger. Are we going to be seeing Alistair from the hand here? We are! Wow, okay. So
we knew about Alistair, right? It was added in the first turn, I believe.
To be totally honest, I can't fully recall, because we've seen Alistair
being
all
the
over the field.
Main monster zone.
It might have been a bit of a misstep there from Hayley if we did know that. I feel that sometimes there are scenarios where it might be worth going to main phase 2 first, and I think Hayley's kind of seen the writing on the wall on that one, and we're going to be going into game 3. So well done from Antonio on that one, being able to come back from a round 1 game loss. Like you said, clear your mind, shuffle up the mind, move into game number 2, and go through that, win the game number 2 as well, overcoming an evenly matched, and now you have all the information of what your opponent is on. So it's all kind of leveled back out, and I suppose it's anyone's game, really.
To be honest, Hayley has the advantage slightly, because when going first, I guess the Invoked feels way better than going second, to be fair. And I believe that it all depends how Antonio is going to approach from side deck wise this matchup. Not probably, I'm 100% sure that he's prepared for this matchup, because let's face it, Light and Darkness, it is one of those decks in this room that a lot of players and a lot of duelists are expecting to be, if not the most representative, one of those in the high categories. So I'm expecting him, for example, to bring cards like Lava Golem.
Ooh, very, very good choice on that one. The Lava Golem being able to kind of clear off 2 monsters, and like we've already mentioned, the Black Luster Soldier, the Magician of Black Chaos. Black Chaos, of course, is unaffected, as is the Black Luster Soldier, but one way to deal with that is a card that doesn't really mind whether you're affected or not. So that can be quite useful. It also then gives the access to a fire monster, and we've seen how useful some of the fire monsters can be for the new invoked cards as well. I wonder what side cards you bring on here, because to me, I feel like a card that could be very, very effective is Ghost Ogre used at the right time, because when you try and use Mind Shuffle to return your level 7, no matter which one it is, or higher monster back to the hand, they return for cost. So for Hayley to try and navigate around that, you'll start to see that you ended up wanting to try and have 2 level 7 monsters or higher on the field at that point of activating it, so you don't need to return your Magician of Black Chaos from the field back to the hand, and then it leaves your Mind Shuffle completely protected, which is quite nice. So I feel Ghost Ogre could put in a bit of work here for Antonio, and like you said, I feel that you're going to be more prepared. I would feel that in general you might be more prepared for Light and Darkness, and they might have played a couple of games against Light and Darkness already today, whereas the Invoked might be a little bit more of a obscurity, but like you said, on the cusp of the edge. Like, people will have the baseline knowledge of it, but might not have had the in-game back and forth experience against it.
And at the end, I think that obviously we have talked about the plans that some duelists may bring to the table, but as you mentioned, Ghost Ogre, it is one of those cards that I have seen a lot of popularity, not only in the side deck, but also in the main deck.
Yeah.
And personally, I would definitely utilize some copies of Ghost Ogre if I was entering this event, and I especially Invoked, which is also a light attribute, and I think that a very strong Invoked fusion requires light. However, I think that our players are ready, so let's jump for game 3.
Okay, that all-important game 3. Let's see who's going to be starting us off on this one. The imagination would be that Hayley would be the one doing it here. There's a couple of interesting cards in that opening hand already.
And Hayley starting things first, again with High Spirits. And we utilized a dragon in the form of Harmonia, which is very strong opening to have High Spirits with a dragon.
Yeah, so that can really only spell one thing with the way that the current game is, and it probably is going to see the way into the Fallen of Albaz, the white dragon on this one as well. And as we try and make our way to that bridge, you also get to send the Albion as well, which is pretty impressive. We all know how powerful the Albion can be on that one as well. So getting direct access to the Fallen of the White Dragon, always treated as Fallen of Albaz, could be very, very valuable here, because you're not only going to be able to search it out, you also get to send another card, it being Titaniclad. The Titaniclad, the Shrouded Dragon, can also be very, very effective here during the end phase to set up multiple effects. And I imagine we're going to go for Ecclesia the Virtuous, and this can only spell one thing from the extra deck. So this can move into a Synchro Summon here. Let's see if we're going to be seeing the Crimson King to work us into it, or we might already have access to it, which is going into
the Ecclesia.
Ooh. Okay.
Do you believe that we may utilize a copy of Fallen of Albaz in our deck just for an extra interruption? No, it's too much.
Oh, I quite like it. I like Mirror Jade. I'm going to go for Cartasia instead. Very good option here. It still kind of leaves you open to accessing different types of monsters. And also the benefit with a card like Cartasia and the Ecclesia is that both of them have end phase effects that can return themselves back to the hand. So you've got a lot more resource in the hand you could use. And we're going to use our own Fallen and the Virtuous here to revive. Very, very well played here.
Since we already have access to Albion, we know that we will find access to Fallen the Virtuous, which is one of the best cards right now in the meta state, and we will access Gragignol with the effect of Cartasia to Fusion Summon, and we will send finally our Summon Skull and trying to find our ways into our ritual and Mind Shuffle.
Yeah, so that's a very, very nice way of being able to get from one part of the deck to the other part, and that just kind of shows how good the synergy is between these two decks right now, being able to kind of get multiple ways. So I mentioned earlier about the Crimson King way. This seems to be the branded way of doing it, and actually very, very effective with a very stacked graveyard though, so that's something that might want to be considered for Antonio here, because we've got a couple of different attributes there that could be very, very useful as we try to rebuild or attempt to build our field.
And right now, I believe Yes, we will try to get access to Light and Darkness Ritual.
Yeah, getting those to our hand is going to allow us to perform a ritual summon without even needing to rely on Mind Shuffle, which is another way to try and also play around Ghost Ogre. Can be very, very important here. And it looked like Hayley did also open up a trap card. More times than not, you probably assumed that that would be the Mind Shuffle itself. We just need to get access to the Griffo, maybe, in order to get Mind Shuffle ready to go. We're just going to be going straight into our Magician of Black Chaos itself. And then utilised by adding a spell card from the graveyard.
So Skull Archfiend will activate the effect to special summon and shuffle up to 3 cards. No, we activated the effect of Magician of the Dark Chaos to get back High Spirits.
Yeah, I think that's quite interesting because you can't recycle or add back the Branding High Spirits the turn it's been activated. You can do it this way. And then we're going to use Nadir Servant. Another way of sending another monster from the extra deck to the graveyard. I wonder which target we're going to choose now. We've already got the Albion to attempt to trigger. We've got the Titaniclad, again, is also going to try and trigger here during the end phase.
I like the more branded, wise approach that Hayley has brought to the table regarding Light and Darkness deck. So Ring Room will be sent to the graveyard, and we see the incredible Ecclesia to be special summoned, since we control Yugioh. And we also play Fleur de Lis.
Yeah, I really like this. We saw this yesterday with Josh Kelly as well, is that by being able to get access to the Fleur de Lis, not only do you have a monster that can enter the field of play that provides you with a non-target negation, you also have a monster that is level 7 or higher, so you've got multiple ways to utilize that Mind Shuffle, so that if the first time you try to activate it, your opponent chains a card like the Fallen Virtuous or maybe even Ghost Ogre to it, you can then use it again in order to get you or still maintain the access to a ritual monster. And the other benefit of that one, because it returns as cost, you can actually just bring back down your Magician of Dark Chaos, Black Chaos, onto the field as well to protect your spells and traps even more so.
I wonder what we are going to special summon through the effect of Titaniclad, or we just added Fallen of the White. Yes, it is Fallen of the White as a resource for the next turn, and we get back to the hand, I think, the Ecclesia, and the Ecclesia from the brought back to the main monster zone.
Yeah, very, very well played here from Hayley on this one. Just confirming what else we have left in the hand to Antonio. And now it's all over to Antonio to try and pick this field apart. Keeping in mind that there's still a lot of graveyard activations that can be utilised here. We've got the Rinbrim in the graveyard that can be utilised to bring back a Fall of Albaz. And then we also have the Grand Grignol that can be used on the field or in the graveyard as well. It looks like there's a couple of multiples there in Antonio's hand. Hopefully they are good multiples for him in order to kind of attempt to break this field. We're just kind of in a complication, contemplation in regards to exactly what we want to have. We've got a Magical Meltdown. We also do have 2 Mystics of the Swamp as well.
Would you bait here for evenly?
I mean, it definitely is a technique that could be used here.
I mean, you get rid of 1 or 2 interruptions because Hayley probably may activate the effect of Ecclesia, for example, to punch herself, since it is only in the main monster zone. So I think it is a good dodge just to bait for battle phase and let Hayley decide if Ecclesia, for example, will be activated or not.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, that's a very, very interesting kind of trade-off there.
So we activate the effect of Yugioh.
Ooh, Despian Lulu Walif. Very interesting monster on this one. This one will give you an additional interaction as well, which can be quite nice. Good target to be taken as well.
And I think right now Antonio is debating about the option that he has.
Yeah, I feel that seeing multiples of certain cards is nice, but in Antonio's hand, they're not all as effective as he probably would have liked them to be. There is a Magical Meltdown, however. Just going to try and assume push to get access to the Alice the Invoker.
but I think that it will be directly answered with Fallen the Virtues, because I don't find a better scenario to use Fallen, since you can destroy the Magical Meltdown and deny the access to Alistair and later to Invocation.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that one as well, and it also means that it's no longer hanging around for that protection to mean that the fusion summons can't be negated, so definitely going to be seeing that one. Called it by the play.
And we sent Dogma to the graveyard.
Yeah, I feel we're in a position now where the extra deck is probably a little bit thinner on Hayley's side, but it's still going to be very, very effective here. I mean, that field is quite intimidating. There's a lot there for Antonio to try and navigate around, and we might see an end phase branded in High Spirits, possibly, if Hayley wants to get a bit more resource for the start of the turn.
I mean, all resources are there.
Yeah.
Definitely you go for more, but I think we are in a very good spot, to be honest.
Completely agree here.
The thing that you can do is just to utilize High Spirits to send the Ecclesia in the hands and a Spellcaster Fusion, for example, to the graveyard, and you can take back again the Ecclesia in the hand, because she can loop herself in the end phase if a Fusion monster has been sent to the graveyard.
Yeah, so it looks like Antonio is looking if there is any interaction coming from the hand.
We are debating probably on the effect of Rain Room.
Yes, I feel that you could kind of take a bit of Call by the Grave. Okay, that's an interesting one. Good that we've held that.
A nice execution from Antonio that he passed the main phase without setting the Call by the Graveyard, because he was expecting for Rain Room to be activated also for the Skull Archfiend. And we are going to add with Dogma.
Yeah, quite interesting on here. You could take a bit of an educated push on maybe those two cards being along Hayley's Spell and Trap zones. Obviously didn't get utilised during Antonio's turn, so they're probably going to be a bit more reactive to what Antonio might want to try and do during Hayley's turn. But on this one, we are just getting a bit more resource, just double checking what access or what cards we have left in the extra deck. Looks like there was a Mirror Jade there, and there was a more kind of like less branded cards is what I'm trying to say here. There's a lot more synchros in that extra deck than there is fusion monsters left, let's put it that way.
Judging from the field, I will definitely be sure that this is branded. However, the Magician of Dark Caves is there to prove me wrong, but still.
Yeah, just to keep the spellcasters in it so it doesn't get overrun by too many dragons sometimes. But I believe that is actually a complete spellcaster field, which is quite nice to see. Okay, drawing for turn on this one. Hayley is going to utilise the Magician of Dark Chaos, Black Chaos, to target that unknown card along the Spell and Trap zones of Antonio. Are we going to see it activated in response? We are. It is the Fallen and the Virtuous. So we're going to be trying to send one of our own branded monsters from the extra deck to the graveyard. And we're going to target the Despian Lulu Walef.
Ooh, and the newest Solemn card will be still the game.
Yeah. Solemn Accusation, putting in a lot of work just on that final reaction and that one. Very well piloted by Hayley there. A little bit unfortunate for Antonio on game number one. So obviously just make sure that you're always clear and you reset your decks correctly and get everything in order. But for Antonio, clear your mind. You did it in game number two. Make sure you do it for the rest of these rounds as well. There's still plenty more to go. On the other side of that one, congratulations to Hayley. Very well done with the Light and Darkness as well.
I think that we might have the second feature as well, also, that we can also bring to you guys.